Yes. Yes, I can help you. Okay, so moving forward on the well house here, and I'm doing again just, you know, traditional, I'll say traditional stick framing. But this one's a little different because for those of you who follow the goat barn, you know it had a 12 by 12 floor and only 8-foot tall wall. So I was actually able to pre-frame the whole wall on the floor and then stand it up. Well, I can't do that here because I've got a 6 by 6 pad, plus I've got the wellhead sticking up in it, bolts all over the place, and 8-foot high walls. So I'm actually having to stick frame this in place one piece at a time. I'm doing this by myself, so I don't have anybody out here to help me support boards. So I was just going to mention how I've done it so far. You know, I had the sill plates already bolted down. Excuse me. I've got all my 2x4 locations marked out. That was just to help me plan it, make sure everything was going to fit right. So then I stood up the first stud here, and you can see it already bumped when I nailed it. It bumped in a little bit. But I stood it up, set the blocking against the base, nailed the blocking in, put one straight through into the blocking, and then toe-nailed the stud. So then I had just a freestanding stud. Did the same thing on the other side, and then got up on the ladder and put my top nails into my top sill. So then I had just a big kind of wobbly box, and then once I had the wobbly box, which of course, you know, is sketchy because it could fall over, put my first nail in down here, came over to this side with my cross brace, put my level up on it, popped that one in to square it. So, assuming my rough cut lumber is somewhat square. Oh, what do you think? Huh? Not too bad. It's in the bubbles. It's not exact, but I'm plenty happy with that. It already's beaten the goat barn. So that squared up the picture frame, as you could call it. Now I had to plumb it front to back here. So I did the same thing here. Toenail in first, there. Stood it up with my knee, put my level on, and again, I'll show you. Bottom bubble, and top bubble. And again, this is still not permanent. This is just to get me mostly in the wheelhouse, mostly in the right space for the wall. It can still be tweaked a little bit back and forth in front and back, and it will be once we get the other wall stood up and pull it all together. But I guess I just wanted to go through, again, how I'm kind of doing it on my own. So now that I've got the picture frame, as I call it, stood up, I'm going to grab my other 3 studs here that go on the wall, get them thrown up in it, and then as I do, I can put another nail or 2 through my cross brace if I need. But I want to go ahead and get them stood up, so at least I've got one wall framed up for right now. And then once I get the back wall done, if I have time, I'll be on to the 2 side walls. That is the plan for today. If I could get the 2 side walls and the back wall done today, that'd feel pretty good. All right, wall number 2 is up. I don't know if I gave you guys an update or not with wall number 1. No, I didn't. I gave it to you after I squared it, right? Studs are in. Hooray. Wall number 2 is up. And we'll just check the square on it real quick. Did it the same way as wall number 1. Oh boy, that looks nice, doesn't it? That's that rough cut for you with a dull blade. But that looks pretty good to me. That's on the plumb in and out. Here's the square on this end. And it should be square on this end as long as our lumber's not total garbage, because it's lined up with the one beside it. Bingo, which was plumb. Now you can see we've got a gap opening up there. If we pull that tight, which we will eventually, then it may want to make this pull in just a little bit, but you're talking less than a 1/4 inch over 4 feet, so I don't think it's really going to pull it out of square. But, and that actually could be, let's see, because that was perfectly square on that stud. So if we check our square against our exterior wall here again, yeah, it's saying it's perfect too. So maybe it could just be a wane in the 2x4 actually. Yeah, I guess it could, because look here, it's touching there. It's touching right there, then it's gapped up there. Then it's gapped here again. So that actually just looks like a wane in the 2x4. It's not actually the wall being out of square. So anyway, this one was done the same way as far as standing up the picture frame, squaring it, and then putting the studs in. The only exception that I did for my brace here for the plumb. Obviously I couldn't nail it to the outside, so I had to cut it at 45, toe nailed it in, and then nailed it over there to check the plumb, which I need to check the plumb on this end. How can I do this? Let's see if I can reach in here with this. Let's check the plumb here on the northeast corner. Wow. Wow. I'm digging it. Okay, so that's 2 up. I'm gonna try to get that 3rd up. I think I've got enough lumber. Yeah, I've definitely got enough lumber. Try to get that one up. And then to put this 4th one up, of course, I'll have to take those, that brace right there, whatever it's called. I'll have to take it back out. But that'll be okay, because at that point I'll have 3 out of 4 walls stood up. I can toenail them together a little bit. They'll be okay. Okay, wall number 3 is up. And I decided last minute to throw a window in it. I don't really have to. Oh, it's not up. I gotta cut the 2 little short sides to go underneath, but that's fine. The wall is up, squared, plumb, and the window's framed. That's what matters. Put some little bits of blocking up there, even though they're probably really not necessary, but I guess at least one would be necessary, because that is a load-bearing wall. But I'm happy with this. So we had a 3x5 window left over from when we built the house. We had ordered the windows, and then we just decided to take a window out and not have, basically, well, if I could show you up on the deck, if we'd put that window in, there would have been like no space for framing. Basically, I don't really remember what happened. It would have made the windows like super crammed against the cabinets or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I had a spare 3x5 window. Been sitting down there behind the Connex box for 1.5 years. Might as well use the thing. So I framed up to throw it in here. So it's going to be a massive window, considering the wall's only 6 feet long and 3 of it's going to be a window. But that's okay. I actually like the idea because it's on the west side where it'll catch a lot of sun in the wintertime, so it'll help warm this little shack up, actually. Probably if we have cold, sunny days, I won't even need to put a heater out here. It'll just, which again, I'm really not that worried about it. I told you guys, you know, I'm Southeast Texas. But whatever, a little natural solar gain. And actually my wife made a really good point. She said, hey, check this out. You guys imagine that I'm sitting in here on a chair with a deer rifle, and I got my whole backyard. Oh yeah, this is my deer blind, people. Double duty. Anyway, stood up the same as the others as far as, you know, did the picture frame and then squared and plumbed. And then this window frame is probably way overbuilt, but when I framed up the goat barn, the window frames were way underbuilt, for those of you that watched that saga framing that place up. So I wanted to make sure I did it right, did it better. So basically, you know, you've got this triple stud thing going on, but it's got little short cripples here that support the bottom of the window frame, and then you've got a second cripple here that supports the top header, and then of course you've got your stud that just goes all the way up that's sistered to help support these cripples. This does not need to be double upright. It needs to be one flat on its face, because you'd have studs underneath of it, but I just forgot when I was measuring. So the bottom of the windowsill is up 24 inches up from the sill plate, so it'll be 25.5 off the floor. And so in my mind I was like, oh yeah, 24 inches minus 3.5, and it needs to be minus 1.5, but I went ahead and cut them at 3.5, so I cut them at 20.5, and then when I went to put that bottom brace in, it was like, oh, that's weird, my window is like an extra 2 inches too high. Okay, now I know. So anyway, it's not gonna hurt anything. You know, it looks super beefy. The window, you know, all that supports is the weight of the window, so it doesn't need to be, you know, near that blocky, but whatever. Mismeasured, but it didn't actually hurt anything. So anyway, gonna get those last 2 in. The last wall to do here will be our front wall, which has the main doorway in it. I've already marked and measured for the doorway, but we don't have it. We ordered it. It should be, actually, it's in the store, but we waited to pick it up. We got to go back and pick up 2 other doors that we ordered for the back porch here. We ordered some storm doors for the back porch. So we're gonna wait and pick that up, but it's a standard 32-inch wide door, so I drew the rough in at 34. But I really want to wait. I know it's all standard, but I want to wait till I get the door just to make sure before I frame it. I guess I can go ahead and frame the outer 2 studs, the picture frame as I called it, and go ahead and get it squared, and then I can just set the studs when I get the door. So I might go ahead and do that today just because things are going well and I want to keep working. Well, the light's dying, but I got it done. The primary framing's all done. I said I was going to wait on the door, but I'm going to take a gamble. I looked it up on the store's website and it had the rough dimensions, which I was pretty sure was right anyway. It's a 32 by 80 door, so it's roughed in at 34 by 82, which actually right now it's roughed in at 30 by 80 and a half. But this bottom sill down here, once I get some more of the framing kind of tacked together and everything really tightened up, then I'll cut that out. I just left it up there for right now just to kind of simplify all the structural work and not have, you know, just because otherwise I would have had just this real short little block right here supporting that end wall. So I'm going to check the square on the roof one more time. I've checked it about a dozen times and so far it's been square, which is huge because, again, for those of you that followed the barn build, I was way out of square, like an inch out of square, and I kept, oh, I'll fix it later, and I never fixed it. So this, I've tried diligently to keep it level, plumb, square the whole time, and everything is within the bubble. Last I checked, this corner here wanted to go south a little bit at the top and east at the top, but everything else is checking really plumb. And this one, like I said, it's within the lines. It's pretty close, and so it may just be that these 2x4s are a little bowed and that it's really not out of level or plumb, which is why at this point the most important thing I'm checking is if the roof is level and square, which I know, or I say the roof, the top sill. I only did a single top sill, by the way, but that's fine because I'll show you guys as we go forward how I'm going to do the beam for the gables, so the load-bearing sill actually doesn't need to be a double sill, in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna check the top square one more time, and if that's square, I'm happy. It was like within a 1/16 of an inch last time I checked, so unless something moved while I filled in the framing on that front wall, unless that happened, it should be fine. So I'm gonna check it one more time, and hopefully we are done with the primary wall framing. All right, well, just now that we got some better daylight, figured I'd show you guys the finished product here on the framing of the well house. And said it before, but I'll brag again. This sucker is level, plumb, and square, as it should be. And that really shouldn't be that big of an accomplishment. But like I mentioned on the goat barn, it very much was not level, plumb, or square. It drove me nuts. It was my own fault. Got nobody to blame. But on this one, you know, we started with a good square slab, as it should be. And every time I stood up a wall, I checked it for level, plumb, square all the way through. And in the end, I think I had to fudge the top just a hair as far as, like, you know, shoving one wall that got bumped a little bit during framing, but not really. It pretty much was spot on. So that just makes me super happy. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I'll finish out here with just a little backstory. You know, when we built our house here, you know, the foundation was all formed up. I checked it myself with a tape measure and it was square. But then when my framers came in, they said, oh yeah, well, you know, the foundation wasn't square, but it's okay because we fudged the walls a little bit, so it's all square. Your house is square. And then when the guys came to put the deck on, they were like, dude, your house isn't square. And then when we went to put the walls, you know, the drywall up, they're like, these walls aren't plumb. They're not square. And the tile guy's going, hey, your floor's not square, not level. But everybody says they fixed it. Oh, the last guy messed up, but I fixed it. You know. And in the end, none of it's really fixed. Everything is just shimmed all over the place. Yeah, so point being there, start square, stay square, and then you got, you know, in this case, I got nobody to blame but me. So I'm trying to do a good job with it. But cool, I'm gonna use up a spare window that I had. I do have to go buy a door, which kind of sucks. I have to go pay for a door. But I didn't really have time to shop around. I mean, I did. But I wanted a pre-hung door. I didn't want to deal with trying to frame in one that I got somewhere else myself. So anyway, big window, big door. And now I'm going to start putting up some of the sheathing on the walls to keep it from racking so that I can take down all these angle braces.